All right, welcome back to Keepin' the Comic, and today we're diving back into the Ultimate series here with issue number 5. Now, in this one, we get to see Captain America track down and go face-to-face with a rogue and the new Ultimate Hawkeye. It's a very fun matchup here and some interesting dialogue. This issue also drops a little fun Easter egg of a character that could join the Ultimate series that could be really interesting. Now, just for some context here, I'm going to go through some things really quickly, just in case you are catching up or stepping right into the series. So Reed Richards, the maker, created this Ultimate universe called Earth 6160. Now, in this universe, he made sure that superheroes were never created, and those that he couldn't stop, he either trapped somewhere or killed. Now, after that, he formed the Makers Council, made of individuals like the Hulk, the Rasputin family, Captain Britain, and more. Now, as a group, they governed and controlled issues across the world and fed chaos whenever they felt necessary. Now, after the Maker was defeated, he was trapped in a dome where he will stay for up to 2 years. Now, to fix what the Maker had done, Tony Stark, aka Iron Lad, along with another Reed Richards, aka Doom, started freeing heroes like Thor, with Sif coming along also, and Captain America. And in retaliation, the Makers Council destroyed Stark/Stain Tower, where Tony and the crew were staying, which forced them to travel 6 months into the future. This is where they started trying to recreate the heroes that the Maker had prevented from becoming heroes before, by sending packages back 6 months to the specific people to create those heroes. Some worked, mostly others did not, but they've still been gaining new members to their version of the Avengers team, the Ultimates, along the way in preparation for when the Maker will break free from that dome. All right, you caught up? Let's get into it. So in this issue here, we pick up on Tony Stark using a secret Stark satellite showing Captain America a few pieces of footage from 5 months ago, 4 months ago, and then 1 month ago, which were attacks and big explosions at these various Roxxon locations. So Tony mentions that the workers had described seeing arrows flying through the air just before the explosions happened. So Cap was like, listen, all this with arrows? I'm impressed. And Tony is like, nah, not arrows, a cutting edge, self-printing, smart projectile weapon system of my design. So then Cap once again is like, so arrows. So now the issue here is that when Tony had sent that package back in the past to create the hero Hawkeye, which we assume was to Clint Barton, well, he threw it in the trash, which led to a random person picking it up. Now, Cat doesn't really see what the issue is here, because in his mind, citizens taking up arms against the council and their infrastructure is a good thing. That's what we wanted, right? But for Tony, he doesn't see it that way. He said, when he ran some numbers on this person, he didn't like what he saw. He stated that the heroism score was in the bottom 10th percentile, and in fact, he was more on the villain potential index. But hold on real quick, before we even get into that, what did Tony just say just now? He said between running operations, Gamma Island reclamation, and repairing the Human Torch. Now, keep in mind that this is the Ultimate universe, but we know from the Earth 616 that the original Human Torch was an android that was created by Professor Phineas Horton. So if we could potentially see that Human Torch here in action, also with Tony Stark's advanced technology, this could be really exciting. Now, if we're jumping back here to Cap and Tony, Cap wasn't happy to hear about Tony with his numbers thing, right? Because all we know about Cap is that this dude is all heart. Additionally, the last time that Tony depended on numbers, things did not go so well, which is why Tony wants to get the weapons back so badly, because he doesn't want to be responsible for yet another unnecessary death or any more unnecessary death. And while Cap still only views these as arrows, Tony has to educate him a little bit here. He's like, listen, these arrows are more than what you think. They can follow a target 40 miles. They can cut right angles at 3 times the speed of sound. These arrows can blow holes in battleships and fry every electronic device for 200 yards. Any properly trained man could take an army on with these arrows. Additionally, right now, he's like, listen, there's no one else that's available right now to go on these missions because everyone else, America Chavez, you know, the Van Dynes, like all of them, they're all busy. So right now, he's like, I need you to go handle this if you can. So reluctantly, Steve is like, all right, I'll handle it. So when Cap meets up with this Hawkeye, it's at another Roxxon location. Now he starts off by pointing a repulsor arrow and saying to Cap, so they sent a cowboy, huh? Obviously making reference to the Cowboys versus Indians trope. So Cap, knowing his name, says, Charlie Ramsey, you know why I'm here. So Charlie, being a smartass, says, I know you're an ultimate, so I guess you're looking to blow up a school or something, right? Which is a reference, by the way, to how the Ultimates were framed for blowing up Stark/Stain Tower, and of course, the White House as well back in issue 2. So Charlie fires that first arrow here at Captain America, shouting, draw, cowboy. Now Cap is able to evade it. And at the same time, Cap is trying to explain, listen, I am not a cowboy here. I am Captain America. But Charlie got a smart ass mouth, man, and says, nah, you a cowboy, Gary Cooper looking mother bleep. And I'm the Indian. Listen, this one is laying this thing on thick, right? Now, that arrow that initially missed him circles back around and hits Cap. Luckily for him, though, he had his shield, but that thing knocked him back quite a bit just to show you how powerful these arrows are, which of course goes back to what Tony Stark was saying. Now, the Cowboys and the Indians references, they do not stop. And neither do these arrows. But I'll come back to the dialogue here in a second because I want to take a look here at these arrows. So he fires off a sonic screamer arrow, which causes Cap some excruciating pain when it goes by him, causing him to start bleeding from his ears. Now, the next arrow he fires off at him is a cluster bomb arrow, which of course fires off multiple bombs when they land nearby Cap. He fires off a knockout gas arrow, a freeze arrow, and an acid arrow all at the same time. And Cap is doing his best, man, just to kind of like get away from it. But geez, like, this is a lot, right? So when Cap tries to throw his shield to hit him, he hits Cap's shield with an inertia canceling arrow, which of course knocks Cap's shield down to the ground. Then dude hits him with an industrial taser arrow, which hits the dude right in the back. Then we get the razor arrow and the neural disruptor arrow, which at this point in time, Cap started to compose himself a little bit here and didn't really do much to him. He actually breaks one of the arrows here, and then Cap was able to throw his shield at the kid, which then knocks him back. By the way, this kid apparently is like maybe 16, 15 years old. Now, to backtrack here to some of what Charlie was saying while he was firing these arrows at Cap. Now, to summarize here, he ultimately feels that the system is unfair because he's like, who chooses who becomes a hero? Why does Cap and Tony get to be a hero? Why does a person who threw away the suit and the arrow in the garbage, why does he still get to be a hero, right? Was it because there was like some index tests here that they had to take? He always feels like people like him always fail some kind of test that they have, how the math never works in their favor, how places like Roxxon, they get to do whatever it is that they want. They get to dig up their sacred ground. They foul the water, as he says. They build their refineries, pipelines, etc. And then they take the whole world hostage, which is exactly what the Makers Council is doing, right? So when people like him, they protest or they stand up, they get thrown in jail or forced out of their land. So the reference to cowboys and Indians is for the world and the way that the world was created and how it's rigged in their favor. The way Charlie sees it is that he is the one that had the vision. And what he's referring to here is the message that Tony Stark puts in those boxes when he sends them back to the people to become heroes. He was the one that got to see it. So he believes the Hawkeye moniker, this path is his. He was selected for this. His government name might be Charlie Ramsey, but his spirit name is Charlie Hawk's Eyes. So it was meant for him. So he won't let Steve or anyone take it because the ones who made this world did not make it for people like him. So sometimes you see something and even though it wasn't made for you, you make it yours anyways, because if you don't, how are you going to be anything in this world that they made anyways? Now, after Cap had knocked him down, Cap goes over to give him a hand up, But when they look out, they see quite a large group of cars and soldiers lining up to take care of them. So Cap called them the Roxxon cleanup crew, who are basically a group of mercenaries that Roxxon hired to secure mining operations that have some high levels of local instability, as Cap calls it. Now, in total, it's about 1,000 men here. So Cap mentions to Charlie, someone once told me that with proper training with these arrows could take out a small army. And then we get to see them in action, and we see this really cool shot here of both Cap and Hawkeye taking out this large crew of Roxxon soldiers, one of which got a nice clean arrow, by the way, to the eye. They laid waste to the rest of these Roxxon soldiers, and like you can see, of course, more Roxxon stuff getting blown up, or what was already blown up here in the background. Now, once they're done with the fight here, Charlie assumes that Cap still wants these arrows back, but Cap never intended to take the arrows back in the first place. He just wanted to make sure that they were truly in the right hands. So Charlie wants to know what he's going to tell Tony since he's not taking these joints back. He's like, so Cap then says to Charlie, he's like, I'll just tell Tony that he didn't miss. And then the last thing that Cap says is, so tell me, is your spirit name really Charlie Hawk's Eyes? And Charlie is like, you white people believe anything. That just kind of thought that line was a little funny here, a little tongue in cheek, right? Now, after this, we get to see two of the members from the Makers Council in the Costa and the Hulk. Now, he is pissed, the Costa, because of what happened at the Roxxon location. So he's like, okay, what are we gonna do about this here? So Hulk steps in and he's like, remember, you said that you would defer to me. So Hulk is like, I've studied their strengths, their weaknesses, their ideologies. You can't just take out one by one here. He realizes their true identities. So he says, I find that there's only one way to deal with the Ultimates. So then DaCosta is like, what are you proposing? And then Hulk simply states, well, it's very simple. I'm going to kill them all at once. So this issue here was a little bit toned down because we've been getting non-stop action. This was a little bit more subdued, a little bit more dialogue. I liked it, and I also like the fact too here that we're starting to kind of really build out this team. The Human Torch thing really excites me. I also like the fact too as well that although this Hawkeye character is very different, they're still keeping him within the same frame of what that character is traditionally. What did you think here about this particular issue? Leave it down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Hit the notification bell so that you know when the videos do go live. Join our Discord so that you can keep more up to date with us here outside of YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for kicking it with Keepin the Comic. Bye.